Language is used predominantly as a form of communication. The glyphs that make up written language can also be repurposed to produce something cryptic. Encryption translates text into an unreadable format. The syntax we use as a society or as individuals plays a role in influencing how we portray ourselves. The sentences, "This is how one washes their hands, this is how we wash our hands, this is how you wash your hands," produce the same meaning within the context of teaching people about hygiene, all speaking about the self, indirectly affecting its disposition. A society which communicates through the sentence "This is how we wash our hands" could be interpreted to imply a more communitarian understanding of the self than a "This is how you wash your hands." Using we may be associated with communal ideals, but using our communicates a subtle difference in relation to those same ideals, shifting to imply a common goal within the sentence. Adrian Beard described this distinction in relation to the famous John F. Kennedy inaugural speech. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Rewritten by Beard in a different form, it implies completely different concepts and values. Fellow citizens, you should not be as concerned with what America offers you, as with what you can give to America. The first sentence exercises a specific language of control and power balanced with community and solidarity. The second translation loses this nuance. Within translation, the intent is often to hold on to the aesthetic and semantic elements rather than simply translating the text grammatically. This is extremely difficult, balancing nuances between language barriers, cultural factors, and sustaining the purity of what has been said. Early encryption used during World War I used machines for keeping messages from adversaries. There was an intent to translate something which a specific group were to not be privy to. The act of encrypting this communication had a very clear opponent versus ally intention. The encryptions were predominantly used to protect commercial, diplomatic and military communication. For example, there are cases of encryptions being used to communicate within prison systems. Just as our syntax communicates and influences our intent, as seen within JFK's inaugural speech, our intent is communicated through its understanding by an audience. A shift in syntax could communicate something entirely different from the original meaning. Mass encryption, as we see today, communicates something about a societal shift. We are no longer just excluding oppositional governments, maintaining imbalances of power, or protecting our ideas from the competition. We are excluding everyone in private communication and including everyone in public discourse. We have the ability to manage our intended audience. We are all constantly shifting between the opposition and the ally. I am communicating through an algorithm which translates my intention into unreadable information before sending it with the intention of decrypting it to a friend so I can communicate. In America, a teenage girl found out she was pregnant through a Target-esque consumer tracking. Her purchases had allowed an algorithm to predict she was in the second trimester of her pregnancy from her purchases of unscented lotions. The father of the teenager approached the store owner, who was unaware the teen was automatically being sent postal baby product advertisements. Upon finding out the girl was pregnant, he subsequently apologized to the store owner. A person's chat log could be doxed by an algorithm for useful information using an incomprehensible array of predictability factors. We do not hold the key as the algorithm does. The opposition is also the ally. It takes my message and both encrypts and decrypts it before delivering to my audience. It is both the code maker and breaker. I am messaging a friend one moment about an artisan mug I just bought at a flea market and unintentionally translating information about my socio-economic status, excess income, and cultural capital. The resulting effect being that through a series of unobservable influential elements I now am investing in Dogecoin through an online, UK-based Bitcoin exchange. When we encrypt everything we send, who is the audience we are trying to keep from understanding our information? We are trying to have this ability within political oppositions, shading business dealings, and activist circles to remain anonymous. The act of scrambling all of our communication reflects a paranoia we hold as a society, unintentionally belying a fear of surveillance within our communication. With the translation back from encryption to readable text, we get a syntax shift which communicates a fragility within our control of our audience, almost as if our meaning was being observed, muffled and misconstrued into something else, portraying ourselves as communicating the exact opposite of what we want. This is how to wash your hands.